Hi guys, Blake from BeCosplay here. I'm going to go over today with you FoamSmithing 101, tools and items you will need. Alright, first we're going to go over here to our work table. This is always an important thing to have, is your work table. And we'll see a few items here spread out, and these are the items that you will be needing. First and foremost, a computer is a handy tool as to your research, and also you can download certain programs that will aid you along the way. Now, I usually tend to use Pepakura when I go into foaming, so I can edit a Pepakura file and make it into a foam file, or you can also go online and research, like I said before, and find a foam file already made for you. Now, after we have that, you'll need a printer and printer paper. Right now, I don't have a printer with me. I use the one at work, but I do have printer paper. Once you have your templates printed on your printer paper, you will end up cutting them into pieces like these. So, now that we have these pieces, we are going to cut them on foam. And I have several different sizes of foam here. I have 1/2 inch, I have 6mm, and 2mm. I usually tend to use the 6mm and 2mm for detailing, and for my base, I usually use 1/2 inch. So, once you get all your templates down on the foam, you're going to end up cutting them into little pieces like these. After that, you'll be doing assembling. And let's go over some of the tools here that you'll be using for cutting and assembling. First of all, I like to use a trusty DeWalt or Stanley box cutter. It works great. Some people like to use the stencil cutter. I'm not a fan unless I'm doing like for 2mm. And then I also have this long utility blade, which is good for beveling. Also, it's good to have a handy amount of blades on you to replace any ones that wear out over time. And trust me, they will. Also, for getting your templates down, you'll be needing a pencil, pen, and marker. These are good for marking, and later on you'll be needing it for detailing. Ruler is always good to have because it'll give you straight lines when you cut your foam sometimes if you require that, if you don't have a sturdy hand. Alright, let's get into the assembling part here. Now that we have our pieces, as I was saying before, we're either going to do two things. We're either going to cut bevels in them, and that's what this utility blade will be for, or we can Dremel them. And the Dremel is really handy because you can use it for a bunch of things. You can either sand an edge, sand a corner, put a little detail in there. It's great, and it comes with a bunch of different heads that allow you to get creative. So, after we get our pieces all set and ready to go, and for assembly, we're going to either use contact cement. This is what I like to use best because it really clings on nice and tight to the foam. The foam doesn't want to come apart after you've applied it to both sides and stuck them together. It's really strong stuff. So, contact cement. Some people like using hot glue, some people like using super glue. I don't recommend those. I've used them in the past, but I've pretty much just upgraded to Weldwood contact cement. Now, the hot glue I still do use from time to time. I use it to pretty much go in the inseams of things. So anything that I'm afraid might fall apart later on or is in a weak area, I'm going to have this on the inseam, and it's going to cling to it even tighter, and it's going to make it even harder to pull apart. So that's also good to have. Now, I also have a 3M general purpose 45 spray adhesive. This stuff is great for detailing. So say if I wanted to put maybe little tiny pieces of 2mm foam or 6mm foam onto my already 1/2 inch assembled foam, I'm going to use this spray. I'm going to spray it in a box, and I'm going to spray it on one side and the other side, and I'm going to just stick them together. They stay on perfectly. Alright. After you assemble, you should end up with something like this along these lines. This is a gauntlet piece for a Mark V Spartan. This piece is pretty easy and simple to make. I don't have it up on the screen right now, but as you can see, I have the 6mm, 2mm, and my 1/2 inch pretty much all in there. I have 1mm, 2mm here for details. I also have put in several bolts and screws. You can do that as well as detailing, and this is pretty much complete and ready to get sealed. You can also Dremel at any time later on after that if you need to sand out some details once you've assembled it. Now, I know a lot of people like to use different sealers, and I like to use different sealers for different things as well. I use Mod Podge, or I use Plastidip. I kind of aimed away from Mod Podge because it's getting a little bit expensive, so sometimes I'll switch over to Elmer's Glue All, and it's really cheap. I can get it in this 1/2 gallon jug here, and it works about just the same. This stuff is good for kind of hardening and letting the paint grasp onto the foam a little bit better. It also keeps it intact a little bit longer, and it's flexible at the same time. Now, other people like using other different sealers. They like using some sort of epoxy, or they like using Epsilon or Smooth-On 65D. These are good alternatives, but if you're using it on a flexible piece and you're in a flexible area on your body for that armor, it's not going to work out so well. It will crack over time. Let's go over DAP. DAP is good for sealing in cracks and any places that there's gaps inside of the foam. So this is DAP Quick Seal Plus. I recommend it. It holds together in the crack pretty long. You might have to put on about 2 or 3 layers. After you have your sealer, depending on your sealer, you're going to want to go with sanding it. So I have right here is a 220 grit sand block, and this is good for getting a really nice, fine, smooth surface. I also have sheets of it, and I have some thicker grit. But this is good for getting out the, the gunky stuff, or if you want to just sand off a little bit of detail that you didn't want there. So I like using that for that. After that, I really like to get my strapping done. Obviously, I can't show you strapping on a gauntlet, so I'm just going to show it to you. Here is nylon strap and clips that I like to use to put my armor together. This is a 1-inch thick nylon strap. It is really good in the sense if you buy it in bulk, because this is a huge roll. This is, I think it was like 300 meters or so. This will last you for a pretty long time too. And it's good for strapping anywhere for anything to hold on to, like a belt or your shoulder plates, or perhaps if you just want to clip things in on your chest piece. It's overall really good. And I also like to use these clips. They're male and female end. They're just a generic brand. You can find them on Amazon. They're pretty good for, if you want to put the nylon straps through and then have something clipped together. So I like using that. And that concludes FoamSmithing 101. We hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to go check out geekade.com for more cool videos. Also, check out more of our content at B_cosplay at Instagram, and also BeCosplayNJ at Facebook.com. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or shoot us an email. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Keep building, and we'll see you in the next one.